Hello and welcome to The Real Film. We are here to provide you with a list of the best 10 war movies on Netflix based on actual wars. Kindly remember to like, comment and subscribe to the channel for more videos like this. Now let's start the video. Number 10. First They Killed My Father. First They Killed My Father is a 2017 Cambodian-American Khmer language biographical historical thriller film directed by Angelina Jolie and written by Jolie and Long Ung, based on Ung's memoir of the same name. Set in 1975 Khmer Republic, Long Ung is the 5-year-old daughter of an officer of the Khmer National Armed Forces, known as Pa to his 7 children. During the Vietnam War, the fighting spills over into neighboring Cambodia when the United States military begins bombing North Vietnamese forces attempting to shelter in the neutral territory, commencing the Cambodian Civil War. The U.S. then pulls out of Cambodia and evacuates its embassy. The Khmer Rouge draws closer and captures Phnom Penh, then forces all families to leave the city as refugees, under the pretext that it will be bombed by Americans. Pa Ung denies working for the government when questioned by the Khmer Rouge soldiers, knowing that he will be killed if discovered. The family is found by Uncle, Long's maternal uncle, Pa's brother-in-law, and Long's family stays with Uncle's family for some time. However, at the insistence of Aunt, who fears the consequences if Pa's identity is discovered, Long's family has to leave. On review aggregator website Rotten Tomatoes, the film has an approval rating of 88% based on 65 reviews, with an average rating of 7.8. Number 9. 5 Came Back. 5 Came Back is a 2017 American documentary based on the 2014 book 5 Came Back, a story of Hollywood in the Second World War by journalist Mark Harris. It was released as a standalone documentary in New York and Los Angeles, and as a 3-part series on Netflix, on March 31, 2017. 5 Came Back explores the experiences of 5 U.S. film directors, John Ford, William Wyler, John Huston, Frank Capra, and George Stevens, and their frontline work during the Second World War. It draws on over 100 hours of archival footage and is narrated by Meryl Streep. Each modern director discusses the impact and legacies of one of the 5 earlier directors: Steven Spielberg, Wyler, Francis Ford Coppola, Huston, Guillermo del Toro, Capra, Paul Greengrass, Ford, and Lawrence Kasdan, Stevens. It has a 97% approval rating based on 37 reviews on review aggregator Rotten Tomatoes. Number 8. Darkest Hour. Darkest Hour is a 2017 war drama film directed by Joe Wright and written by Anthony McCartan. The film is an account of Winston Churchill's early days as Prime Minister of the United Kingdom during the Second World War and the May 1940 war cabinet crisis, depicting his refusal to seek a peace treaty with Nazi Germany amid their advance into Western Europe. It stars Gary Oldman as Churchill, alongside Kristen Scott Thomas as Clementine Churchill, Lily James as Elizabeth Layton, Stephen Delane as Viscount Halifax, Ronald Pickup as Neville Chamberlain, and Ben Mendelsohn as King George VI. The title of the film refers to a phrase describing the early days of the war, which has been widely attributed to Churchill. Set in May 1940, the opposition Labour Party in Parliament demands the resignation of British Prime Minister Neville Chamberlain for being too weak in the face of the Nazi onslaught. Chamberlain tells Conservative Party colleagues he wants Lord Halifax as his successor, but Halifax does not feel he is right at that time. Chamberlain decides to choose the only man whom the opposition parties will accept as the leader of a national government, Winston Churchill, the First Lord of the Admiralty, who correctly predicted the danger from Adolf Hitler before the war. On review aggregator website Rotten Tomatoes, the film holds an approval rating of 84% based on 316 reviews, with an average rating of 7.3. Number 7. The Hunt for Red October. The Hunt for Red October is a 1990 American submarine spy thriller film directed by John McTiernan, produced by Mace Neufeld, and starring Sean Connery, Alec Baldwin, Scott Glenn, James Earl Jones, and Sam Neill. The film is an adaptation of Tom Clancy's 1984 best-selling novel of the same name. It is the first installment of the film series with the protagonist Jack Ryan. The story is set during the late Cold War era and involves a rogue Soviet naval captain who wishes to defect to the United States with his officers and the Soviet Navy's newest and most advanced ballistic missile submarine, a fictional improvement on the Soviet Typhoon-class submarine. A CIA analyst correctly deduces his motive and must prove his theory to the U.S. Navy before a violent confrontation between the Soviet and the American Navy spirals out of control. CIA analyst and former Marine Jack Ryan, after consulting with Vice Admiral James Greer, the deputy director of the CIA, briefs government officials on Red October and the threat it poses. After learning that the bulk of the Soviet Navy has been deployed to the Atlantic to find and sink the sub, they conclude that Ramius plans a renegade nuclear strike. On Rotten Tomatoes, the film holds an approval rating of 88% based on 73 reviews, with an average rating of 7.70. Number 6. The Dirty Dozen. The Dirty Dozen is a 1967 American war film directed by Robert Aldrich and starring Lee Marvin with an ensemble supporting cast set in 1944 during the Second World War. It was filmed in England at MGM British Studios and released by MGM. In March 1944, OSS officer Major John Reisman is ordered by the commander of ADSEC in Britain, Major General Sam Worden, to undertake Project Amnesty, a top-secret mission to train some of the Army's worst prisoners and turn them into commandos to be sent on a virtual suicide mission just before D-Day. The target is a chateau near Rennes where dozens of high-ranking German officers will be eliminated in order to disrupt the chain of command of the Wehrmacht in northern France before the Allied invasion. The prisoners who survive the mission will receive pardons for their crimes. 5 prisoners are condemned to death while the others face lengthy sentences which include hard labor. With a detachment of MPs led by Sergeant Bowen acting as guards, the prisoners gradually learn how to operate together when they are forced to build their own training camp. However, when an act of insubordination is instigated by the rebellious Franco, all shaving and wash kits are withheld as punishment, which leads to their nickname the Dirty Dozen. During their training, the prisoners are psychoanalyzed by Captain Kinder, who warns Reisman that they would all quite likely kill him if given the chance, and rapist-slash-killer Maggot is by far the most dangerous. The film holds an 81% rating on Rotten Tomatoes based on 52 reviews, with an average rating of 8.0010. Number 5. Zero Dark 30. Zero Dark 30 is a 2012 American thriller film directed by Catherine Bigelow and written by Mark Boal. The film dramatizes the nearly decade-long international manhunt for Osama bin Laden, leader of the terrorist network Al-Qaeda, after the September 11 attacks. This search leads to the discovery of his compound in Pakistan and the military raid where bin Laden was killed on May 2, 2011. In the movie, Maya Harris is a CIA analyst tasked with finding the Al-Qaeda leader Osama bin Laden. In 2003, she is stationed at the U.S. Embassy in Pakistan. She and CIA officer Dan Fuller attend the black site interrogations of Ammar Reda Kateb, a detainee with suspected links to several of the hijackers in the September 11 attacks and who is subjected to approved torture interrogation techniques. Ammar provides unreliable information on a suspected attack in Saudi Arabia, but reveals the name of the personal courier for bin Laden, Abu Ahmed al-Kuwaiti. Zero Dark 30 received critical acclaim for its acting, direction, screenplay, and editing, and was a box office success, grossing $132 million worldwide. Number 4. IP Man. IP Man is a 2008 Hong Kong biographical martial arts film based on the life of IP Man, a grandmaster of the martial art Wing Chun and teacher of Bruce Lee. The film focuses on events in IP's life that supposedly took place in the city of Foshan during the Sino-Japanese War. The film was directed by Wilson Yip, and stars Donnie Yen as IP Man, with martial arts choreography by Sammo Hung. Set in 1935, Foshan is a hub of southern Chinese martial arts, where the various schools' students compete against each other. IP Man, the most skilled martial artist in town, maintains a discreet profile while building a reputation for skill through friendly, closed-door competitions with other masters. One day, a local troublemaker named Yuan loses his kite, which lands in a tree in the IP family's backyard. While retrieving it, Yuan witnesses IP defeating fellow Kung Fu master Lu in a sparring match. Although IP and Lu had agreed that the news of who won would remain a secret, Yuan unwittingly spreads the story around town, inadvertently embarrassing Lu. During the Second Sino-Japanese War, IP and his family are forced to move into a decrepit apartment after the Imperial Japanese Army confiscates their house for use as a military headquarters. Number 3. Beasts of No Nation. Beasts of No Nation is a 2015 American war drama film written, co-produced, shot, and directed by Kari Joji Fukunaga. It follows a young boy who becomes a child soldier as his country experiences a horrific civil war. Shot in Ghana and starring Idris Elba, Abraham Atta, Amake Breeze, Grace Norte, David Danto, and Opimi Fogbohung, the film is based on the 2005 novel of the same name by Uzodin Muyiwala, the book itself being named after a Fela Kuti album. In the movie, a civil war is breaking out in an unspecified West African country. A young boy, Agu, lives in a small village with his parents, older brother, and younger sibling. Agu's village is located within a buffer zone enforced by Ecomog troops. The village is informed that the government has fallen and military-aligned rebels have seized control of the country. With rebel forces headed towards the village, many people flee to the country's capital for safety. Agu's father buys safe transport for his wife and two youngest children, but has to stay behind with Agu and his eldest son. Rebel and government forces fight in and around Agu's village. While the rebel soldiers flee, government forces round up the remaining villagers and execute them, but Agu evades capture and escapes into the jungle. It was screened in the main competition section of the 72nd Venice International Film Festival, where it won the Marcello Mastroianni Award. The film was shown in the special presentation section of the 2015 Toronto International Film Festival, and released on Netflix globally and in a limited release by Bleecker Street on October 16, 2015. Number 2. The Five Bloods. The Five Bloods is a 2020 American war drama film directed, produced, and co-written by Spike Lee. It stars Delroy Lindo, Jonathan Majors, Clark Peters, Johnny Try-Win, Norm Lewis, Isaiah Whitlock Jr., Melanie Thierry, Paul Walter Hauser, Jasper Pakunan, Jean Reno, and Chadwick Boseman. The film's plot follows a group of 4 aging Vietnam War veterans who return to the country in search of the remains of their fallen squad leader, as well as the treasure they buried while serving there. During the Vietnam War, a squad of black U.S. Army soldiers of the 1st Infantry Division, Paul, Otis, Eddie, Melvin, and their squad leader Norman, who dubbed themselves the Bloods, secure the site of a CIA airplane crash and recover its cargo, a locker of gold bars intended as payment for the Lahu people for their help in fighting the Viet Cong. The Bloods decide to take the gold for themselves and bury it so they can retrieve it later. However, in the ensuing Vietnamese counterattack, Norman is killed, and the Bloods cannot locate the buried gold after a napalm strike obliterates the identifying landmarks. On review aggregator website Rotten Tomatoes, the film holds an approval rating of 92% based on 303 reviews, with an average rating of 8/10. Number 1. The Hurt Locker. The Hurt Locker is a 2008 American war thriller film directed by Catherine Bigelow and written by Mark Boal. It stars Jeremy Renner, Anthony Mackie, Brian Garrity, Christian Camargo, Ray Fiennes, David Morse, and Guy Pearce. The film follows an Iraq War explosive ordnance disposal team who are targeted by insurgents and shows their psychological reactions to the stress of combat. Boal drew on his experience during embedded access to write the screenplay. Set in 2004, Sergeant First Class William James arrives as the new team leader of a U.S. Army Explosive Ordnance Disposal (EOD) unit in the Iraq War. He replaces Staff Sergeant Matthew Thompson, who was killed by an improvised explosive device (IED) in Baghdad. His team includes Sergeant J.T. Sanborn and Specialist Owen Eldridge. James is often approached by an Iraqi youth nicknamed Beckham, attempting to sell DVDs. James challenges him to a game of football and takes a liking to him. Sanborn and Eldridge consider James's maverick disposal methods and attitude reckless, raising tensions. When they are assigned to destroy explosives, James returns to the detonation site to pick up his gloves. Sanborn openly contemplates killing him by accidentally triggering the explosives, making Eldridge uncomfortable. Nothing is done, and tensions continue to increase. Rotten Tomatoes gives the film an approval rating of 97%, based on 289 reviews, with a weighted average rating of 8/50. That's it for today. Thank you for watching this video, and do subscribe to our channel.